The all-seeing CCTV documents a morning like any other on the London Underground. A man in a suit makes his way through the crowd. He works in financial services, and not long before he said goodbye to his pregnant wife and small child before heading into the office.
The individual that we're looking at is this person on the screen here.
But undercover police have reason to believe he's about to commit a sexual offence.
He had left early from his house to commit offences, so that if he was stopped, then it would appear that it was just a natural route for him.
Cal Cook had first given them cause for concern a few months before, but his alleged victim didn't want to press charges. So the undercover officers are lying in wait for him to offend again.
And first of all, he's moving into this area and he's hugging back against the wall of the platform.
The police watch him manoeuvre himself behind a young woman and rub his crotch against her. One officer then approaches Cook, the other his victim.
We have to be very careful in this moment. Really, we're looking for an independent account from the person that we believe at that stage is a victim of sexual assault. What we can't do is lead them and say, have you been sexually assaulted?
We've been given unprecedented access to the Sexual Offences Unit at the British Transport Police. One of their officers shows us a tiny camera Cook was using to film up women's skirts. He pleaded guilty to sexual assault and outraging public decency, and although he escaped jail, he was put on the sex offenders register and lost his job. Cake maker Jenny Strange has decided to waive her right to anonymity to encourage other women to report the kind of assault she was forced to endure on a train.
I was wearing a dress with tights, and I realised quite quickly that he was stroking my bum, and he then started groping me and putting his hands up my dress. That's horrible. Nothing like that's ever happened to me, and I hope that nothing like that ever does happen to me again. But it makes you feel incredibly violated that someone thinks that they have the right to do that.
Jenny immediately told the police.
This can't keep happening, and I think we owe it to each other to make sure that we're speaking up and we're stopping this happen, time and time again, and that's why I reported it.
Over the last few days, the police have had several reports about women being groped along a particular stretch of the London Underground. So undercover officers are going to spend the next couple of hours travelling on the tube to see what they can find, and I'm going to go with them.
Westbound services are being held at platform level.
We've had some reports coming in over the last week, which we'll then act upon. There's been reports throughout the system, but that particular area, we're confident that there's kind of regular activity.
So what officers are looking for is any kind of behaviour that's a little bit suspicious. So that could be someone who hangs back from the train and waits for the next one and then suddenly leaps on. It could be someone who, instead of staring into the middle distance, is looking all around them at other people. And any of those kind of behaviours could indicate that officers have found a potential sex offender.
There is a good service operated on all London Underground lines.
We've been travelling for less than an hour when police find cause for concern. A man who appears far more interested in female passengers around him than continuing his journey.
What we've seen there was someone who was loitering around on the platform, seemingly with no purpose. They're letting trains go, one after the other, to any possible destination. They're paying attention to people rather than the trains themselves.
We board the train with the man, but unexpectedly other passengers block his way.
When we boarded the train, the individual that we were looking at, he was standing behind the female, but the positioning of the passengers within the carriage itself meant that as she got on, there was a male passenger who ended up actually blocking or partially blocking his kind of access to her, if you like.
The undercover officers are convinced a sex offender has slipped through their fingers, so they'll log his details when they return to the office.
He may well come back into the underground, at which point we'll be waiting for him.
With the number of sexual offences at record levels, detectives are under pressure to do more, not less. So there was understandable criticism of the decision to scrap the British Transport Police Sexual Offences Unit in the capital, a decision now hastily reversed. In the rest of the UK, police forces are also redoubling their efforts, and they insist the record figures are actually a sign of their success, that women are now refusing to suffer in silence. Here in Birmingham, Transport Police have launched their own drive to persuade victims to come forward. And in the last year, across the Midlands, there's been a 48% increase in the number of sexual assaults reported on the railways alone. But if this advert from the British Transport Police encouraged women to report offences, that's only half the battle.
1 second, 2 seconds. Would you report it?
It's about building that case. Clearly more victims means people want to tell us about it but don't necessarily want to support a prosecution, which is the challenge for us. But the earlier report we can get, we can secure that best evidence and then prosecute where we can.
Travelling on public transport in Britain is comparatively safe, but for women it could be a lot safer still. And for many, getting justice remains elusive.